When you spend your whole life giving, you never think the one you gave everything to will one day treat your love like a burden. My name is Marianne O'Connell. I'm 70 years old, and I used to believe, deep down, that no matter how far my son fell, love could still reach him. I remember the day Sean was born like it was yesterday. There was a storm that night, the kind where thunder makes the windows shudder. But when they placed him in my arms, red-faced, wailing, "Perfect," I whispered. "You're safe now. I've got you." And for the next 36 years, I tried to keep that promise. After my husband died in a car accident when Sean was just 8, I worked double shifts, court clerk by day, waitress at night. Not because I wanted recognition, just so he could have a normal childhood. Soccer cleats, braces, college applications. Every dream he had, I backed with sweat and sacrifice. He was always bright, always charming. But somewhere between junior year and his mid-20s, something cracked. The drinking started slowly. First after work, then before work, then no work at all. By the time he hit 30, Sean had already burned through 2 jobs, 1 engagement, and most of my savings. But I still believed in him. When he called this past spring, sobbing, saying he finally wanted help, I didn't hesitate. I cashed out the small CD I'd been holding on to since my 60th birthday, 12,000. Meant for repairs on the house, or maybe a trip to Ireland, gone in one click to a rehab facility 2 hours north. It was a respected program. Private rooms, full detox, group and individual therapy. I told no one, not my sister, not my best friend Joyce. I didn't want sympathy or judgment. I just wanted my son back. The day they confirmed his intake, I cried, not out of sorrow, but hope. Hope that this time would be different. That Sean would walk out of those doors a new man, that the years I spent alone, defending him to the world, holding my breath with every phone call, would all finally mean something. But as I would soon learn, some heartbreaks don't come with warning signs. Some betrayals don't shout. They whisper, "Thank you," as they walk away with the last piece of your soul. The first sign something was wrong came in the form of silence. 2 weeks after Sean was supposedly admitted to the rehab center, I still hadn't heard from the staff. No updates, no welcome packet, not even a receipt. I tried calling once, but the woman who answered sounded rushed, confused, said they had no one under his name. I thought maybe I'd called the wrong location. I told myself not to panic. Then one evening, just before bed, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened Facebook. I don't even know what I was looking for. Maybe a glimpse, a sign, something. And there it was. His old profile, still active. There was a new photo. Sean, smiling, beer in hand, sitting poolside at some luxury apartment with string lights and a hot tub. The caption read, "Finally free. My life starts now. No more strings attached." I stared at the screen, unable to blink. My mouth went dry. My fingers trembled. No more strings attached. Was I the string? I sat in the dark, rereading it over and over until I couldn't feel my hands. I clicked through the comments, friends hyping him up. Someone asked how he could afford the place. He replied with a winking emoji and, "Got lucky." People love a comeback story. I called him. He answered on the second ring. "Sean, where are you?" A pause. "Why? I thought you were in treatment." He sighed. "Mom, look, I needed a break. Rehab was suffocating. All rules and guilt trips. It's not for me. I paid $12,000 for that program." "Sean." "Yeah, and I didn't ask you to." His voice turned sharp. "You did that so you could feel better. Let's not pretend this was about me." I don't remember hanging up. I just remember the cold. Not in the room, in my chest. Like something essential had frozen over. You know that moment when you realize all your love, all your sacrifices didn't land, they weren't received, they weren't even noticed. If you've ever raised a child, if you've ever given everything and still been told it wasn't enough, I want to hear your story in the comments. You're not alone. We feel it in silence. Let's break that silence together. Back in the living room, I picked up the printout of the wire transfer. $12,000. And underneath, a handwritten note I'd sent with it. "For your new beginning, I believe in you." He never even opened it. I didn't cry the next morning. That surprised me. I didn't scream, didn't break anything. didn't call anyone. I just made coffee, fed the birds in the backyard, and stared at the cracked paint on my kitchen cabinets like it held some kind of answer. It didn't. The pain didn't come all at once. It came like mist, quiet, creeping, and constant. That week, I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I unplugged the landline at night. Every time a car slowed outside, my heart jumped like it used to when Sean was a teenager, sneaking in after curfew. Only this time, I wasn't hoping he'd come home. This time, I was afraid he might. 3 nights later, I returned from the grocery store and noticed the screen door latch looked off. Not broken, just not the way I'd left it. A few inches ajar. I froze. Nothing was missing. Nothing moved. But I knew he'd been here. Maybe to grab something. Maybe to scare me. Maybe just to remind me that no matter how far I pushed him away, he still knew how to find me. That night, I sat in my bedroom, holding a flashlight like a weapon, staring at the hallway, waiting for footsteps that never came. And that's when it hit me. Not just fear. Grief. Not the grief of death. Worse. The grief of knowing your child is alive in the world, but the version you knew is gone. The boy who brought you wildflowers from the backyard when he was 7. The boy who used to ask you to sit by his bed because the shadows scared him. Gone. The world kept turning. My neighbors watered their lawns. The mail came on time, but I was quietly unraveling behind drawn curtains and polite smiles. One afternoon, I walked into the spare bedroom. Sean's old room. The bed was still made. The closet still held a few high school trophies and a worn varsity jacket. I closed the door gently and leaned against it, heart aching like I'd just buried someone. That night, I made a list of everything I'd done for Sean over the years, not to shame him, just to remind myself that it was real, that I hadn't imagined it all. Because when your own child erases the story you lived for them, you start wondering if you ever mattered at all. The church basement smelled like old coffee and lemon disinfectant. I sat in a folding chair, surrounded by a circle of strangers who didn't feel like strangers at all. Their stories blurred into mine. Same tears. Same hollow silence when the phone rings. Same ache when you realize your child is still alive, but not really there anymore. That night, I didn't speak. I just listened. A woman named Jean said something that cracked something wide open in me. My son died in Afghanistan. Yours is still alive. But the grief, it's the same, because both of us are mothers, waking up to someone who isn't coming back. I don't know why that line hit me so hard. Maybe because it named the thing I hadn't been able to name myself. I'd been grieving a living person. The loss wasn't loud. It didn't come with funerals or casseroles. It came with silence, with shame, with watching the door but never daring to open it again. When I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway for almost 20 minutes. I wasn't ready to go inside. The porch light flickered, like even the house was tired of waiting for me to feel like myself again. Eventually, I went in, boiled water, made tea, and opened the old cedar box I kept tucked at the back of my closet. Inside were old savings bonds, a copy of my will, and a small notebook I hadn't touched in years. I opened it and wrote, "Today I stopped asking to be seen. Today I will see myself." That night, I moved every remaining dollar into a separate account. I changed the locks again, this time with a smart system. I shredded the old bank statements, tucked the new documents in a fireproof safe. But more than that, I made a promise to myself. No more rescues. No more buying hope. No more chasing the boy I used to know. I lit a candle in the kitchen. Not for anyone else. Not for Sean. Just for me. And for the first time in years, the house felt like it belonged to me again. I didn't stop loving my son. I just started loving myself more. And that, as small as it sounds, was the quiet beginning of something I didn't yet have a name for. But it felt like peace. I started waking up earlier, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The mornings were quiet in a different way now. Not empty, not haunted, just mine. I'd make coffee, open the blinds, and let the sunlight pour across the kitchen table like something sacred. The light didn't ask anything of me. It just showed up. The first thing I did was pull the ivy from the fence. It had been growing wild for years, strangling the wood beneath it. It felt good to tear it away, root by root. Then I painted the mailbox, planted lavender by the porch, replaced the sagging curtains in the living room. None of it was for anyone else to see. Not the neighbors, not Sean, just me. At the community center down the street, I signed up for a pottery class. I told the woman at the front desk I hadn't touched clay since high school. She smiled like that was the best reason to start again. I didn't talk much in class, but my hands remembered. The first mug I made was lopsided and ugly, but I kept it anyway. It sat on my nightstand with a note inside that said, "Keep going. You're worth the space you take up." Some evenings, I walked the neighborhood, just around the block, slow and steady. The same streets I used to rush through, driving Sean to school or baseball practice. Now they felt like something new, like places I was finally allowed to move through at my own pace. I didn't hear from Sean, and I didn't reach out. That silence used to feel unbearable. Now, it felt like breathing room. One night, I got a call from the recovery center in Michigan, the one I'd anonymously donated to a few months back. They wanted to thank the donor for covering a full scholarship for a patient with nowhere else to turn. I didn't give my name, just said, "I hope they get the help they need." I didn't tell them the truth, that it was Sean's name I'd put on the paperwork, that it was my way of letting go and holding on at the same time. It was the only gift I could still give without losing myself in the process. And for the first time, I didn't wonder if he would ever say thank you, because I no longer needed him to. I had already said it to myself. I wasn't planning to watch the news that night. I just finished folding laundry and was on my way to bed when I heard a familiar name on the TV. Sean O'Connell, the anchor said, shared his story today at the Tri-County Recovery Center's 2nd anniversary event. Once a patient himself, he now helps others walk the same path. I stood frozen in the doorway. There he was, my son, standing at a podium in a church gymnasium, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. Short hair, clear eyes, shirt tucked in. He held a small index card, but barely glanced at it. "I'm here because someone believed in me," he said. "Even when I didn't deserve it. Someone paid for my second chance. I don't know who they are, but if they're listening, thank you. You saved my life." I sat down on the edge of the couch and pressed my hand to my chest. Not to cry, just to feel something real, grounded. I didn't need credit, but God. Hearing those words out loud, they reached somewhere deep I'd long stopped trying to touch. Sean didn't say my name. He didn't know. That was the point. The next morning, I made a fresh pot of coffee, poured it into the crooked mug I'd made months ago, and walked out to my garden. The lavender had started blooming again. Purple, soft, and stubborn. I knelt by the flowers and whispered, "He's okay. Not perfect, not cured, but standing, trying, and more importantly, not mine to carry anymore." That day, I pulled out the notebook from the cedar box. On the final page, I wrote, "He doesn't owe me anything. I gave because I could, and now I live because I choose to." I placed the notebook back in its spot, next to my will and the sealed envelope that held my final wishes. I felt no bitterness, no anger, just space. Space I'd earned, peace I had planted. I didn't win anything the world could see. No headlines, no apologies, no grand moment of redemption. But I reclaimed something bigger. Myself. If you're watching this and you've ever given your whole heart to someone who couldn't see it, tell me in the comments. What part of yourself are you taking back today? I'm listening. And so are the women just like us.